So, when I had first read a synopsis on Your Lie in April, I was a bit hesitant to even watch it, because I thought that it was a show based around classical music, which I'm not a very big fan of, but actually watching it was probably one of the smartest choices, as it was an absolute treat. It's a full-on emotional rollercoaster that has twists and turns around corners you'll never even expect, and honestly, it's one of my top shows for emotional anime for sure. So if you haven't seen it and feel like getting surprised, then do give the show a watch, even if it seems like something that you'd never enjoy, cause who knows, it might surprise you as much as it did me. If you have seen it already, then stick by. Maybe I'll share a similar opinion, or maybe have a complete different one to yours. Either way, maybe pop a comment down below saying what you thought after watching it. So, without further ado, let's get into the story. We start off with Kosei Arima, a child who's not really anything special, however his mother is a pianist. Can't remember whether she's a teacher or a professional player, but whatever. And one day, after some convincing from her sister, decides to teach her son Arima to play. Now this sounds like a good idea, right? Well, it would be if life didn't decide to kick a piano into their asses. And Arima's mother got a life-threatening illness. I don't know what illness because the wiki doesn't fucking say. Anyways, after this realization, his mother becomes very aggressive in teaching him, to the point that she begins hitting him with her cane. So it's a pretty intense beginning for sure. But on the cruel upside, he gets really good at playing the piano technically. And keep the word technically in mind, as this becomes something important later on in the story. Going into the future like the mad time travelers we are, Arima is older and he has two main friends, possible girlfriend number 1 and douchebag friend number 2. Being close to the main character, they're also part of the main cast, but there's another girl Arima meets that gives the real deets to the show, aka Kaori Miyazono. She's a violin player that is apparently douchebag's girlfriend, and we watch things unfold as we find out secrets and long hidden talents and trauma of the cast through the world of classical music. But without spoiling any of the mad twists above the works of Shamalama Ding Dong, I'll say this. If you want something really emotional and not super complicated, then definitely watch this. If you don't like it, well, at least you can say you watched it, so it's a win-win. And with that, we're on to the ratings. The story gets a 9 out of 10. I would have given it a 10, but from what I remember, certain parts were a bit boring, or at least to me. It doesn't mean you should skip these parts, as I realize that a lot of it plays towards the character development and the story to a certain degree. And I won't lie, the twists in this are so emotional that I literally cried at some parts, and I think you will too. As for the characters, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. While these characters have a lot behind them in terms of backstory, I didn't feel connected to any of them. I could understand their motivations and their actions, I just didn't find them interesting as they were, but just being characters that make sense in the show is good enough in my opinion. There's not much I can say for the action, as it's not an action-based anime at all. However, I'll substitute that for the instrument playing that a lot of them do within the anime. That being said, it wasn't interesting, at least not to me, as, once again, I'm not super interested in classical music, but whatever. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Sound-wise, however, they did a great job of not only adding the classical music into it, which if you love that stuff you'll nut for sure, but also the opening is so good. I mean, I still listen to it to this day because of how bright and cheery it sounds, so for that I'll give it an 8 out of 10. In terms of animation, if I remember correctly, they focused on the character's hand and stuff for when they played the piano and the other instruments, and I think it looked quite good. Once again, because there's not much action, I can't appreciate as much as I could, but it serves its job for the kind of show that it is, so it'll get an 8 out of 10. Overall, Your Lie in April racks up to 40 out of 50. I think this is a fair rating considering it won't be an anime for everyone, but like I've said many times already, it's something that many people could appreciate simply because of the emotions that are present, and for that it's a great show. But yeah, that's about it for the review. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to give it a like and hopefully subscribe. We're super close to reaching 100 subscribers, but maybe by the time that this video comes out, we might have already reached it. Either way, thank you so much for being so supportive and allowing us to get to this point, even if it's a small win within the grand scope of YouTube. Anyways, I'll see you in the next review.